Hello and welcome back, everybody. I'm glad to have you here with me this week as we discuss the next part of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Mastering the Inner Game of Wealth by T. Harv Eker. This is week 2 of the 5-week book discussion program, and it's very much my pleasure to be here with you guys to go over this next part of the book. My name is Sean Adams. I'm the Master Ambassador for the Midwest here with Peak Potentials, and I'm very happy to be able to help you all understand how this book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, can really change your life and help you to become truly financially free. Because the key here is talking about the inner game of wealth, and this is especially what we're going to be heavily focused in on. Where are we? Why do we think the way we do? What goes on inside of us that causes us to act, think, behave, do the things that we do? And so this week we're going to be focusing in on, for about the next 30 minutes, really exploring that internal area for ourselves, who we are, where we come from, and also be able to start looking at what is it that we need to be doing or what we can be doing to be able to shift a little bit of things for ourselves so that we can be more effective at winning the inner game. We live in a world of duality, and like I was talking about, that inner game of wealth, and that's that internal stuff, versus the outer laws of money, or the outer game of wealth. The outer game are the tools that we can learn and pick up, such as business information and knowledge, how to manage your money, investment strategies. It's kind of the tools in your toolbox. If you're going to go into investing, you need to know investing strategies. If you're going into real estate, you need to understand the real estate market. If you're going into stocks, you need to be able to read stock portfolios and things like that. That's the outer laws of money. But all of that doesn't work well if our inner game, or the toolbox, has a hole in it or a leak in it. It's great if you've got a perfect wrench that can fix every problem, but if you stick it in a toolbox that has a hole in it and it falls through, then you can't use that wrench. So we need to work really focusing in on that inner part, the inner laws of money, that mental financial blueprint. That's what today is going to be focused in on. That's really what our focus for this next half hour or so is going to be. It's all about what can we do to really build that inner financial blueprint and make sure that it's strong and solid. And Harv always likes to say that it's not enough to be in the right place at the right time. You have to be the right person in the right place at the right time. That's the point of being the right person, is really having taken the time to really develop that internal part, that internal piece, that internal mental financial blueprint, so it's solid and it's strong. So when that great business opportunity does arise, or that great investment property shows up, you have the internal working solid, strong, ready to go, so that you're the right person when these right things pop up at the right time. I'm also going to just note, and this is just a little teaser for you all to make sure you show up for all 5 weeks. You'll notice occasionally in some slides here or there, there may be a letter missing here or there. You'll notice here it says right T me, and you know that actually means right time. And I did that for a purpose, because we're going to have a competition to see how well people pay attention. And if you track how many different missing letters there are, I will be giving away some fabulous prizes after the 5 weeks for those people who actually show up and pay attention. And there's some method behind each letter that I might leave out here or there, but I can cover that later on. One of the things that Stuart Wilde always says is the key to success is to raise your own energy. When you do, people will naturally be attracted to you. And when they show up, you bill them. So it's not about finding people to pay you, it's about becoming that better person that makes people want to find you. And when they find you and say, wow, you're brilliant, you have great information, you have all this great knowledge, and I really want to learn from you, or I want to know this information from you, or I want to know where you got this information so that I can learn it too. Whatever it might be, but when you have that energy level at a higher level, it automatically attracts people to you. And when the people start coming to you, then you can start billing them. So if I'm vibrating, if I'm working at this higher level of energy, this higher level of knowledge and internal growth and well-being, people come to me and find me and want to be around me, and they're attracted to me and everything that I have to share. And then I can say, well, that's great, and I know I have this lovely information, and I know you want this information, and it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. And so that's another, that when they start coming to you and asking you for your wisdom and knowledge is when it's a whole lot easier to start billing them and ask for a higher level. Instead of begging them to work with you, they beg you to work with them, and therefore you can always charge them a whole lot more. We're going to be covering a lot of concepts like wealth principles throughout today and the next couple weeks. So the first wealth principle I want to make sure we cover, and these are just concepts and ideas that help you solidify and understand the basic teachings of the book. And so the first wealth principle that we're going to cover today is your income can grow only to the extent you do. And it comes back to, as the bigger the container you are, the bigger your wisdom, your internal mental financial blueprint, the bigger you are lined up for greater wealth, greater income coming your way, greater opportunities coming your way, then they can come to you. If you're that person who's just saying, I want to get by and I just need enough to pay my bills, well, then your income can only grow to the point where you're paying your bills instead of having all of that extra wonderful wealth. So your income can only grow to the extent that you do. And it's important to then make sure that you are working on consistently and continuing to grow yourself so that your income has a much larger space for growth as well. So why is this internal, this money blueprint important? Because if you ever come into big money and you're not ready for it on the inside, the chances are your wealth will be short-lived and you will lose it. And this has actually been proven very often with lottery winners who may not have a money blueprint that is set for large quantities, and therefore what happens is they may get this large quantity, but because they don't know how to live in a world of large quantity of wealth, they spend their money, they throw their money away, they make bad investments, whatever it is, and they end up getting back to whatever state they were at originally. So it's not about, do you have wealth coming in and do you have this lovely amount of wealth? It's, are you a big enough container to hold and manage this great wealth coming your way? So that's why the money blueprint is so important, is we've got to develop that internal money blueprint so that when we are big enough on the inside to be able to handle all of the great amounts of things that are coming our way. And if we want to keep and grow our wealth, we have to keep ourselves large and grow ourselves as a container for this wealth that's coming our way. The next wealth principle that I want to make sure that we cover for you guys is, if you want to change the fruits, you first have to change the roots. If you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. And what that means is, if you want to grow oranges, you need to make sure that you plant an orange tree in a healthy ground so that it can create nice, firm, steady roots, so that then the tree can grow up strong and you can then have the fruits of the oranges or whatever else it is that you're trying to grow. So oftentimes, in order to have the visible wealth, to have all of that extra money coming your way, large amounts of passive income, that dream home of yours, you first have to do the internal work first. You have to work on growing your roots, getting them established in good, solid financial internal work with your financial blueprint, and really getting to that point where internally you have good, strong roots, so when those opportunities or when things come your way, you then can see and establish and benefit from the fruits that also come your way. So it's got to be it's the inner stuff, the unseen work, the stuff that you do personally for yourself that will lead to the external benefits that you see, which are the money and everything else. One of the things I want to make sure you guys understand is this concept of 4 quadrants. There's the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and the physical quadrant. And what people don't always understand is the physical, what we see in our lives, what we have in our lives, is really just a printout of the mental, emotional, and spiritual pieces. So those 3 actually equate into our physical reality. So like if you print out something on a piece of paper and there's a mistake on it and you try to erase on that piece of paper and then you go to print it again, of course the mistake is still in there because you didn't change it in the inside area. And the mental, emotional, spiritual are the inside areas where we work, which then cause us to be able to print out the paper without the mistake. So we've got to do that work, that internal work on our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual growth, because that's developing ourselves internally, which will then change what we then have physically in our reality. And so remember, internal creates the printout of our physical reality, and that's what we need to be working on. Okay, so next wealth principle for you all, that money is a result. Wealth is a result. Health is a result. Illness is a result. Your weight is a result. We live in a world of cause and effect. If I want to lose weight, I can't be eating cookies at midnight. If I want to be healthy, I can't run myself into the ground so that my immune system gets weakened and makes it easier for me to get easier for me to get unwell, to get illness. Um, if I want to be healthy, if I want to lose weight, I have to choose to do the cause. I can't just think about, oh wow, sit-ups would be nice. If I want that six-pack abs, I've got to do the ab work. I have to work those muscles. And it's the same thing for our mental well-being and our financial blueprint. We've got to work the muscles of our mental financial blueprint so that then it can become a reality for us and we can have what it is that we wish, we desire, we want to have. So that's the key, folks. Got to keep doing that internal work. I keep coming back to this. Next wealth principle. Harv always says, give me 5 minutes and I can predict your financial future for the rest of your life. And what does he mean by this? Very simple. In having a conversation with you, he can determine where your mental financial blueprint is. He can tell if you are wired for mediocrity, if you're wired for just getting by, if you're wired for just having enough, or if you're wired for abundance, if you're wired for large income always coming your way, if you're wired for the struggle to make money, or if wealth comes to you easily. All of that stuff can be found out in a very simple 5-minute conversation of just, what do you think about money? What are your ideas about money? Do you think it's hard to make money? Does money grow on trees? Is it difficult, easy? All of this stuff, a few questions can really delve into how do you really think? What is your internal belief about money? And that's your mental financial blueprint. And that is the thing that, if that's unhealthy, if that's not set for abundance and easy, joyful abundance, then you're not going to have easy, joyful abundance. And I'm reiterating this again. I know I just talked about this, and I want to make sure this sinks into your head. You've got to clearly understand this, that how you think, how you talk about, how you discuss money is a very clear indicator of really what goes on in your world. If you say, well, I want to have $1 million, but then in the next sentence you're talking about how, rich people really, they're kind of greedy, then clearly that $1 million isn't going to do you any good, because you really don't want to be a millionaire because you don't want to be greedy. Or, they steal money from the poor so they can become rich. Or whatever your beliefs are about wealth, people with money, with wealth, that's really where you're at. It's not what you pretend to say, it's how you act in those discussions. And that's why that 5-minute conversation really can predict your financial future for the rest of your life, unless you actively work to change your mental financial blueprint. That is where the key is, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So here's a little equation I want you to understand. T leads to F, leads to A, leads to R. So your thoughts lead to your feelings, which lead to your actions, which equal your results. So it all comes back to where you originally think. If you think rich people are greedy, you have a feeling about, oh, they're greedy. You have this dislike feeling for them because you see them as greedy. Therefore, you actually take action that causes you to not become greedy, because then your results show that you are not rich because you don't want to be seen as greedy. So it all starts with how you think, which leads to the other pieces. So your results always begin with really what goes on in your head, what your thoughts about certain things are. And that's what we need to focus in on. If you say rich people are greedy, if you think that, you feel that way, your actions equate to that, therefore your results are you're not rich because you don't want to be seen as greedy. So your thoughts equal your feelings, equal your actions, equal your results. And the wealth principle behind this is exactly what I was just saying. Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, and actions lead to results. So this is just it written out instead of the cute little abbreviations. But I wanted to make sure that this gets hammered into you. You need to clearly get this, because too many times people say, well, I'll just act differently. I'll just start acting differently about money. Well, that's great, but your actions are still going to get undermined by how you feel about money. And how you feel about money is really decided upon by how you think about money and wealth and success and the joy and ease of gaining wealth or money or success or anything. Any result you want can't get changed just by doing a different action. It has to start at the very front end, which is the thinking point. If you're not working on it from the thinking point, then you will not be able to successfully be able to move forward in that next point. So this is stuff I want to make sure you guys, I'm hammering this home consistently in your heads because this is what matters. You've got to think differently for this to happen. So now we're going to go into a slightly different adjustment or association with this, because I've been saying that feeling thoughts are the basis, but we can make an adjustment to this by making a change by remembering that P equals T equals F, and P is your programming. Because our thoughts came from somewhere, and our thoughts came from our programming. Our thoughts come from that concept of what we learned early on, what our parents taught us, what our television taught us, what school may have taught us, what personal experiences, and we'll go into more details about these things in a minute, but I just want to help you guys get this concept that you can change your thoughts, but before you can start changing your thoughts, you really need to know where they came from, and that's the programming we got. And people didn't necessarily program us intentionally to think people are greedy, the rich people are greedy, or rich people are, bad, or they make their money, or whatever it might be. They come from really specific areas, and it's the three areas are verbal programming, modeling, and specific incidents. And so I want to make sure you guys get this, because those three things, they weren't done with intent. My parents didn't use the phrase, what do you think, money grows on trees? Oh. They didn't say that because they wanted me to, they intentionally were trying to make me think, oh, well, I want you to think that money's difficult and it's not easy to get. I want you to have to suffer with money all your life. It's what they knew. It was their programming, and they didn't know to try to reprogram it or to try to change that and to try to change their thoughts. Same things with the way they behaved about money. If they, everything was about coupons so that they could scrimp and save every little penny. Or maybe it's that specific incident for me where I came into some money and then I wasted on something that was frivolous. And then I got this equation that lots of money equals me having bad things I don't really want. So that might have been a specific incident that helped to program how I see, act, think about money. And so this is the stuff that you guys need to get into your heads, and we're going right back to it again. What the three forms of conditioning are: verbal, modeling, and specific incidents. And I know I'm repeating myself here, but these are the most important points for you to understand in order to be able to start to reprogram your mental financial blueprint for abundance, for ease, for wealth, for all of the things you want it to be programmed to. You first have to realize where your thoughts came from, where that conditioning was. And I think I've given examples. The verbal programming, money grows on trees. The modeling, the fact that, let's say my parents were coupon people, and so they always looked for the best deal and would drive around town just to save $1. Because that was something that seemed, so that it programmed into me that it's all about the best deal and you have to work really hard to get a good deal, instead of maybe just being able to ask for the good deal at another location. Or my specific incidents of, wasting that money that came into me on something frivolous that didn't benefit me. And so now I see good money equals frivolous things that aren't good for me anyway. And so now we're going to start to get into some of these ideas about how to make adjustments to how you are and what's going on in your world. And so the first one we're going to look at is the verbal programming, and how can we kind of start changing our verbal programming. And so there's 4 areas for changing any of these programmings. And it is awareness, understanding, dissociation, and declaration. So awareness, for verbal programming is just to start writing down all of the statements you heard about money, wealth, and rich people when you were young. Just be aware of what people said. And then to help get you a better understanding, start writing down how you believe the statements have affected your financial life so far. Have you intentionally not taken that job that could have paid more because you didn't want to be seen as greedy? Then the next step is disassociation. Can you see that these thoughts represent only what you learned and are not part of who you really are, and that you have a choice? And then we can go into the declaration. And declarations are important, and I want you guys to get used to doing declarations. And we'll go into some of the declarations that you need to do in order to be able to reprogram yourself. But first I want to go over the basic steps of the second influence, which is modeling. And we talked about that a little bit. And modeling is very easy, and modeling is just maybe not what was said to us, but what we saw people actively doing around us. And that's important. Like, just because people don't always think about their actions, they just do stuff. And so, like I said, my parents didn't think that driving around for, hours to find the cheapest product might make me think differently about money. They were doing it because that's what they learned, and they wanted to save money. They didn't say, we're going to drive around to 5 different stores and find the cheapest thing. We just got in the car and did it. And so it was modeling. It was an action they were taking that I saw, that I learned to do as well, because I didn't know any better. Who do you learn your money stuff from? You should learn from the people around you, your parents, your friends, your family, maybe your teachers. So any of these folks could have been teaching you aspects of modeling, and it gets a little tough, and it gets a little adventurous. And so I just want you guys to be aware of that, and be clear that sometimes this kind of stuff happens. And one of the wealth principles that goes along with modeling is, if your motivation for acquiring money or success comes from a non-supportive root, such as fear, anger, or the need to prove yourself, your money will never bring you happiness. And that's important to note, because you've got to make sure that you're coming from a place of joy, happiness, and goodness. The reason you want money has to have a positive connotation and influence to it, not a negative connotation or influence. And so if you want money because you want to prove your parents wrong and show you can do it, that's not really a healthy reason. If you want money in order to be able to raise your family in a situation that you know they deserve, that's different. That's more positive. If you want money because you never want to have to worry about money again, because what happens if you run out and then you might be poor and living on the street? That's out of fear. You don't want to have that fear. You want it to be something coming from a positive, healthy benefits. So if you're not coming from positive, healthy benefits, you're coming from a place of negativity, fear, and money will never bring you happiness, even if you're able to achieve it. Because you're in that negative state, it's just never going to lead to happiness. So steps for changing your modeling behavior. Awareness is, once again, considering the ways of being and habits each of your parents had around money and wealth. Write down how you may be identical or opposite to each of them. To understand this better, write down the effects this modeling has had on your financial life. Same thing as what we were talking about earlier with understanding. And same thing with disassociation. Can you see this way of being as only what you've learned and isn't you, it's just something you've learned? And can you see you have a choice right now in your present moment to choose to do something different, to choose to not have to continue to do whatever it was that was modeled for you? That's your power. And then in the book they talk about a declaration, putting your hand over your heart and saying, what I modeled around money was their way. I choose my way. And then always touching your head and ending with, I have a millionaire mind. Because remember, it was their stuff. It's not your stuff. You don't have to continue to hold on to this anymore. You get to choose if you'd like to or not. It's a very wonderful, powerful place to be in, that this is your choice, your ability. So the next piece here is the third aspect, third influence to how our programming occurred, is specific incidents. And I gave the incident of, I came into money when I was younger, and I didn't come into lots of money, but I had, I got money for Christmas, and I had $50, and I could have spent it on all these wonderful things, and instead I made this impulse buy to buy a teddy bear, which was great, and the teddy bear was very cute, but it didn't actually benefit me. And I know that years later I kind of went back and looked back on that moment, and I'm like, God, I wasted that $50. I could have used it so much better, and then I had this teddy bear, and I didn't really play with it. And so to me, money, I didn't want more money coming in because I had this incident where I wasted money. It was this thing that as soon as I have it, it's gone, and it's gone on something that was not really beneficial. And so I held on to that belief for a really long time that money coming in would instantly be spent on something gone and not something I would be able to really enjoy or benefit from. And so that was a hard lesson for me to learn. And it was a hard lesson for me to break, a whole programming to break, and realize that now when money comes in, I don't have to instantly run out and spend it. I can take my time. And the way I was able to get there was by doing some of these 4 steps to really clear myself of this concept. And so I was considering specific emotional incidents that I experienced about money when I was young, like the teddy bear incident. And I was able to write down, and how did this really affect my current life? And like I said, it affected it because now I'm looking at, I had this idea that money coming in instantly is spent and gone on something frivolous and not beneficial, so why have it come in the first place? But then I realized that I could see that this was only something I had learned and was not really who I am, and I could choose to act differently in the present moment. So now when money comes in, I spread it out into different accounts so that they're used appropriately, some for education and other things, which I'll go over in another week later on. But I also realized that I don't need to go out and buy something right away as soon as I have money. I can hold on to the money and not shop for 3 days. So then I can wait and decide, oh, do I really want it, or was that an impulse concept? So I was able to reprogram myself to not spend my money quickly and right away, and instead wait and hold on. And so it was reprogramming myself in a way that was beneficial for my own well-being. So the next wealth principle I want to make sure that we cover is that the only way to permanently change the temperature in the room is to reset the thermostat. In the same way, the only way to change your level of financial success permanently is to reset your financial thermostat. If I have the room set for 68 and it's 90 degrees out and I open the windows and all this hot air comes in, the AC will kick on and lower the temperature for me. Or if it's middle of winter and I still have the temperature set for 68 and the windows open and all of a sudden all this cold air comes in, the thermostat will kick in and raise the temperature of the room. But if I don't want to be at 68, I want to be at 72, I can't sit there and just, hope that maybe it'll get to 72. I've got to change that thermostat setting to 72. So just the same thing, if I want a mental financial blueprint for easy, abundant wealth, I can't stay at just enough to get by and hope maybe easy, abundant wealth comes in my way. I've got to really change my financial blueprint for that setting of easy, abundant wealth. And when I change that thermostat, then when I'm doing things that aren't getting me there, it will kick in and make me do something different so that I act differently. Next wealth principle for you guys. Consciousness is observing your thoughts and actions so that you can live from the true choice in the present moment rather than being run by the programming from the past. And this is a tough thing for a lot of people, to be really fully present and conscious in the moment. Like I said with the teddy bear incident and money, now whenever I get money, I intentionally put it aside and don't put it into my wallet for a couple days, because I've learned that I still have the tendency at times to make that choice to just go out and spend it all right away. So instead, I've chosen to take action in the present moment that prevents me from being ruled by the programming from my past. So if the money's not in my wallet, I can't go out and spend it. 3 days later, that initial urge is gone, and now I can put the money in my wallet, and now I don't have to worry about that old programming from the past. And the more I've done this and the more I've reprogrammed myself, I don't really have to worry about the money being in my wallet or not, because I know now when money comes my way, I'm not going to spend it right away. I'm going to just hold on to it and use it for ways that are going to benefit me and help me to continue to grow my wealth, instead of just giving me fun little quick things right away. It's a huge programming shift, and I was able to do that by being conscious in the moment and making choices that prevented me from slipping back into old programming. And the less we do our old programming, the less powerful it becomes, the easier it is to slide into and use the next programming. So I want you guys to all put your hands on your heart. And I want you to say this like you mean it. You need to believe this statement. So everybody, hand on your heart. If you don't have your hand on your heart, you're not playing at 100%, and that's not going to get you to financial freedom. Everybody with your hand on your heart. I observe my thoughts and entertain only those that empower me. Now, everybody, put your hand on your head. Hands on your head, everybody. Play at 100%, or you're not going to get to financial freedom. All right, hand on your head. Say it like you mean it. I have a millionaire mind. Some of us have even gotten to the point of just saying, I have a billionaire mind, because millionaire mind is shortcutting ourselves. But if you guys just get into the habit of saying these declarations, going back through the book, saying the declarations, and we're going to go in a lot more declarations, have a lot more declarations to say next week when we cover the next section of the book. But I just want you guys to get used to doing one declaration right now. So next week, we're going to cover pages 49 through 111 of the book. So make sure by next week's call you've read those pages, you've studied them, you've come to understand them. And I'll just go through and give you guys a little bit deeper understanding of it like I have today, explain some of the concepts, making sure that I'm hitting all the major points for you guys. So remember, next week, pages 49 through 11. I'm so glad you guys could all be here for week 2, and I look forward to working with you all next week. Cheers, bye for now.